seeing the Mix It Up title slide?
Yes, we are.
We do, yeah.
Thank you. I may have gotten this right from the get-go today. That would be a miracle. So we are recording, and I believe we're recording. Yeah, we're recording. So welcome everybody. Hey, September 29th. It's almost October for some inexplicable reason. It is fall. I hope everybody's enjoying various aspects of fall, whether you like pumpkin spice lattes or college football or leaves changing or all of it. Anybody started already seeing Christmas stuff in the stores though? Kind of, that's just, there ought to be a law against that. But anyway, other than that, great time. I hope everybody's keeping healthy and enjoying life. And I really appreciate you taking some time out to hop on today to hear from a bunch of smart people. And so let's go ahead and dive in so we can start hearing from those smart people. And let me get over and start advancing some slides here and tell you about what's on tap for the October Mix It Up. We're going to be talking about EDI, and this is a very broad topic if you know anything about it. We're going to try and decipher it a little bit. For those not very familiar with it, start with a quick primer, but talk about for the average SMB company, somebody using Business Central or Nav, what's the state of EDI today? Is it accessible? It certainly is more accessible than it used to be, but how do you get started with it? What are the current trends with EDI? And then we'll get into a little bit more detail around that and have a nice interactive discussion. If you've got some questions about EDI, certainly hoping that everybody will pipe in with that. So that's coming up on October 27th. We'll get that notice out. And also, of course, in 2 weeks is Community Summit for North America in Houston, and then DynamicsCon Live is coming up in November as well. And so still a couple conferences to look forward to there. And that brings us to today's drink, which I'm going to go out on a limb, way far out on the limb, and guess that it's got something to do with tequila. What do you think, bartender Kimco?
Maybe just a little bit. So I thought today, since I have been traveling this whole month and haven't had a chance to come up with a drink, that we would just taste a sample of tequila today. So this is kind of my version of worst bartender's version of Tequila 101. So basically, what we have here is some silver tequila. Everybody's familiar with this. Usually this is the stuff you drink too many shots of, and then you have a really bad hangover the next day. Probably not these ones. They're a little bit higher price and quality than Jose Cuervo. I know I've done 10 shots of tequila and regretted that the next day for sure. But now that I'm on the other side of 45, this is more what is kind of my speed. So silver tequila, if everybody is not familiar with it, is usually for the most part unaged, meaning it's gonna it may rust in a barrel for like 60 days, but it's pretty much just straight tequila. So this is a good brand. Avión, I like that. You've seen me use it before. Casa Noble is always a favorite in my book. And you'll notice on like websites for these, they'll say like, oh, this is like crisp, fruit forward, and smooth. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just going to tell you it tastes good. I have no idea if it is crisp or fruit forward. So we'll just try this one a little bit. This could also get me really drunk by about 10 after 3. So we'll find out. Oh, yeah, it's still good. So yeah. So you notice though, I didn't make that face like after you drink Jose Cuervo. That face, it's like, oh my God, I think I just drank something really bad. You don't get that with this kind of tequila. Let me just empty that glass. Now, oh, there's no salt in mine. That is not happening. I'm a professional at this. I have totally trained a lot. So now we're going to move on to the next level of tequila, or I don't know what you want to call it, but reposado tequila is usually rusted in oak barrels for about 2 months, anywhere from 2 months to a year or a day before a year. So this is a very good one. It's there's 3 of these in this In this brand, there's a Uno, which is the Blanco, Dos, which is the Reposado, and Trace, which is the Añejo. And yes, I've tried them all. So this one, I like this one a lot. So I actually got kind of excited when I started taking these out. I'm like, wow, I haven't had this in a while. This is going to be good.
You got to comment on the stopper there. What's going on there?
Well, the cork kind of came out, and then I had to put a different stopper on it. I mean, I pushed the cork in. It happens, you know.
I thought that was something ultra fancy there.
Oh no, that was the corks in the bottle. You can't see it floating in there.
Clever though.
I didn't want to waste good tequila. So that one's a really good one. This one is also a really good one. Casamigos, if anybody's had that. I don't know why I feel like I have to try all of these today, but I think I'm going to. Again, like I said, I could be drunk by about 3:15. Still my favorite. Okay, so next we have the Añejos, which these are going to be aged even longer, going to be really smooth. Definitely sipping these. You're not doing shots of these. So these are usually aged from 1 year to like 3 years. This one's a good one. I haven't actually drank too much of that. This one is also a good one. Again, it's the Casamigos again, but it's pretty good. Oh wait, I didn't drink this. I'm not sure this live thing is really good for me. I know my liver's going to be thanking me tomorrow.
I always love to call you after this call, Kim, just to check up on you and see how you're doing.
Yeah, that's okay.
I happen to know she's getting her. I happen to know she's getting her hair cut afterwards, so she might end up bald if she keeps drinking.
It could happen. That's happened before. No comment, Kerry Peters. So the next in tequilas is the extra añejo, which can be, it's usually aged longer than 3 years in oak barrels. So this is definitely a favorite. It's Casa Noble. They have a different bottle now. So I'm kind of mad that they don't have the purple bottle anymore. This one is Aja Toro, and I've only found this in Mexico. So, but it's very good. So I usually have to bribe somebody to bring this back for me. So I'm actually kind of excited. I forgot it was in the fridge.
AJ has his hand raised. I'm dying to know what his question is.
What's up,
So
AJ?
Kim, I know you never show up unprepared. How much practice did you do for this? I mean, was like a drink every day for 5 days, or did you decide to prepare just before the session with like, a drink every hour on the hour, just to make sure you're doing this right in camera?
No, it's about 20 years of experience, Well, okay, maybe longer than that, but, we're going to say I started drinking when I was 15. So, it's, I haven't drank that much in a while. So this is kind of fun for me. So anyway.
And I take it you had to try a lot of different tequila to come up with the right one for this, right? I mean, I'm guessing every single brand, everything over $100, you kind of bought them one by one. No. I mean, UView Strategies did not fund this, the R&D process here.
Well, they might have funded a few of these bottles, I'm not going to lie. And then I will say that I've worked for tequila. So like this one, somebody paid me, and this one I did a favor for them. So a lot of times I'll negotiate my payment in terms of tequila as well. So all good questions though.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So that's all I got for you guys. Cheers. Everybody drink whatever they have because it's 3 o'clock and we should drink. So cheers.
I'm always just fascinated by the bottles. It's amazing. There must be a whole industry just designing those bottles. Fantastic. All right. Thank you, bartender Kim. All right, everybody, if you're ready to dive in, and let's talk about the upcoming Wave 2 release of 2021 Business Central. We've got 6, 7 MVPs on the panel today. Want to make sure everybody is connected okay. If you want to share your webcam, please do. I'll remind you too, of course, we record all of these and we throw them out on the YouTube channel. If you do have to duck out early, or even better, you want to share it with some others on your team. But let's go ahead and jump in. And I'm going to give extra bonus points to whoever can figure out the order of the panel, why I put the panel in this order. There's an order to it. So I'll take guesses in the chat, and we're going to welcome Shawn first. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. What you got for us?
Okay, so we're going to jump right into the tips, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
So I got a little distracted on the order. I don't know if there's something to do with smartest goes first, maybe most handsome goes first. I don't know. I'm curious to see what it is. That's a nice little teaser. So I'm going to share my screen.
Kristen got it already.
What's that?
Kristen got it already.
Oh, did she?
Yes.
East to west.
That was impressive.
And that is impressive. I should have known. Actually, Belinda's a little further east than I am, so I wouldn't have thought that.
No, I didn't actually look it up on the map, so
No.
But then it's reversed because west is now on the east side.
Oh, east, is it, which one is it? Is it east to west?
East to west.
Oh,
But
yeah.
usually west is on the left side, right? When you look on the map.
I actually go before Shawn.
I don't care. Somebody go.
I'm going.
I was gonna say Erik is on the East Coast, so I was gonna go with west to east.
Go ahead, Shawn.
All right, so I'm sharing my screen here. I'm going to use my little cheat sheet here because I wasn't sure of the order, and often in these types of environments, someone steals your thunder. I know we tried to collaborate a little early, so I'm just going to talk about a few of the things that I think are interesting to know about, not just Business Central, but the new releases. So some of the things that you may hear about today, or you see out on some webinars or on Twitter or wherever you consume your information, you might go into your Business Central and wonder, well, what the heck? I don't have that. And I think it's important to point out that some of those new features get controlled by the feature management in Business Central, and you have to enable them manually until the next major release. So if you look at these here, some of these really cool ones, I'm going to show you this next one here in a minute. Check financial journals in background. This I'm on 18.5 maybe, or 18.4 maybe here. I had to enable this manually in order to leverage this feature. So even though it was released, it really wasn't force placed into my version, and I had to turn it on. I turned it on for all users, which I think is also kind of cool that you can do a subset. And so I'm just going to go in and show you that real quick, and maybe Mark, if you give me the hook when I'm running out of time, because I've got about 10 here. I'm not going to get through them all, I know that, but so I'm just going to go into general journals and take a look at my batch. I'll just grab that one here. Let's go in. And what happens here is, I went too fast. If you note in the background, oops, sorry, a little bit of a side tip here. If it's too small, use your control and the zoom on your mouse to zoom in. That's true in Teams as well. So right now, if you're watching this in Teams and it's too small, you go over the image, control and zoom in on your mouse, or the plus to zoom in, control plus or control minus. At any rate, you notice that I can turn this on by batch, this background error check. I've turned it on in my batch setup, and I'm going to come into the batch. And this is actually surfaced on the right-hand side. We'll call it the east side for this group, or maybe the west side, I don't know. And on my fast tab, or excuse me, on my fact box over here, I have the journal check. And so as I start to enter in my journal entries, maybe I leave an account number out, and I come over and I put in a dollar amount. And this is going to go ahead and do some checking for me in the background. Actually, I have this automatically balancing, so that's not going to do it. There we go. So let me get into the right field. You see it does that for me as I move through. It tells me, hey, I've got some errors. So as you're keying these in, I know we get very serious about these journal entries. I see Kim on my other monitor here preparing another drink. For some reason, I was gravitating peripherally to that. Cheers. So I think that's really cool. While I'm in here, I'll show you another thing in any of these amount fields. So not a new feature, but something I think every accountant and end user should know, because what I see when I work with a customer sometimes, actually a little bit more often when I'm in person, because we're seeing some activity on the other monitors. But when we go into an amount field, someone's looking at something and they're maybe looking at a purchase invoice and they see that it's $141 and $35 in shipping, but they're maybe that math is a little too simple of an example, but you get the idea. Instead of opening up Excel or your calculator or your phone, you could do that math right inside those amount fields. So I think that's a pretty cool little tip. I'll go with one more, maybe, if that's okay, Mark. Is that okay?
And just to put it in there, that feature is actually 30 years old.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that old, Eric. Thank you for that. But I think those things people tend to not realize, especially now in the SaaS environment, and when consultants are doing this for so long, we kind of forget that people don't know those gems. They're new to it. So I think that's really cool. Also, as you go through, I'm going to zoom back out. I have two more. I think I'm going to steal one extra one. If you're going to come in, since Eric brought that up, it's 30 years old, and you're creating a new line item in a purchase order, a new journal entry, the F8 key is going to go ahead and replicate the line above, directly above. So if you're putting in something very similar to the line above and you're just changing the amount, hit the F8 key in there and it's going to bring that down for you. And then last but not least, if you work with inventory items, let me see, imports, and you add pictures to your inventory items, you can do this in bulk. This came out, I think, last year or maybe the sprint. No, it was in 2019 at least. It's out there for a while, but not a lot of folks realize it. If you want to add items, images to your inventory items in bulk, you can do this instead of going through into the fact box one at a time and doing it. And all you really need to do is name your image file the same as your item ID. You could have 100 of them, zip them up into a file, load them up in here. It even does some validation and make sure that there's a one-to-one match for everything, and it saves you a lot of time. Take a little longer lunch, maybe have a liquid lunch like Kim's doing, and you're good to go.
Beautiful. Any questions for Shawn? All right. Love how much you packed in there, Shawn. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. With my apologies to Ms. Belinda.
Yeah, I think I'm probably I'm oldest in age, and I may be the oldest MVP. Erik, how long have you been an MVP? You got to unmute.
8 years.
8 years. Yeah, I'm the oldest MVP too.
Wow.
8 years. Kauffmann, what about you?
Oh, well, I meant.
Yes, an honorary panelist that we have on.
Let me see that. That's 9 years.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, still the oldest.
Very nice.
I'm waiting for the next blue one for next year.
Yeah. I just hit mine this year, so this year was 10. Okay.
Oh.
I'm just waiting for blue hair.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm going to talk about teams for a change. I love teams. And so I have one new feature I'm going to show you that is coming out in October, and I bet a lot of you are not using Business Central and Teams. So I have a couple things I want to show you that you may not know exist inside of Teams. So in my dev environment, it has not upgraded to the newer version yet. So I have a sandbox that I'm going to show you here, and I'll just kind of work my way through it. So when you're in one of your card areas, there is a share button that's going to be here. And you could choose to share this particular item in Teams. And it's going to open this little pop-up window where you can enter in the name of a person, a group, or a channel. So I'm going to insert this into my sales opportunity channel. And then I might say, hey, I'm going to look at my teammate, Adele. Hey, Adele. Check out this new item, and it's going to actually post the item right into my Teams. So I'll click on share, and what I'm going to do now is come over here. Here's my Teams. I'm in Sales sales opportunities. Let me do my little equivalent of a refresh here. And here's the link. Now I don't want to click on it because this is my dev environment. It would open up somewhere else. So I'll simply copy the link, and this is what it would look like if I connected to it. It would prompt me to log in if I was not already logged in, but it will open up that particular page. So it'll literally take me right to that page. So which is pretty cool, being able to do that. And then we could use Teams much more for collaboration in general. So one of the things that I'm going to do is show you, and look, Shannon, I listened to you and started creating some of my channels the way you did. But a couple things that I want to show you about how this works is you could actually put a page in your BC right as a tab on the team. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up my customer balances, and it's going to open up. Now we're in production, not in the sandbox, but it's going to open up not really just this page, but it's actually running the whole application behind it. Because if I wanted to, I could drill in. These are just customers with balances. And you notice I could work my way across just like I would anywhere, just working any particular way inside of Business Central. And as I open it up, if I wanted to, I could even go so far as to just work as completely normal, even printing an invoice right to the screen. I don't know if a lot of you know that, but if you spend a lot of your time in team, it could definitely save you from running back and forth, which could be incredibly beneficial. I'm going to come back in here to the post for a moment, because one of the things I want to show you also is that we could have these cards appear inside of Teams as well. So we can have conversations about it. So here's a particular contact that I was a very crazy conversation with Adele telling her to check out somebody, but I could come in a little bit further and log in all the way and look at the detail. And oh, I think it's opening on. I have so many different variations. We're not going to go ahead and click on that, but just and we'll save ourselves a little bit with time too. But you could also do a pop out, and this is going to error out because I am. I don't want to actually mess myself up, but let's cross our fingers and hope it, because it's using my Edge, and I usually use my dev environment in private. Yep, so it takes me right to Megan's card. So hopefully I didn't mess anything else up. Okay, so I wanted to show you how to go about doing that. And it's very simple to do. If I wanted to, I could come right here and have a new conversation. And let me come into sales opportunities. This is where I've attached it. I'll have a new conversation here. And note I have an add-on for Business Central right here. So we know that we can just do like an @ and connect to one of our fellow teammates, but we could also go in and do a search. I could have done @ Business Central as well and got to it. But here I could come in and do a search for maybe for a customer or a vendor or a contact, and have that information connect as a card right here, and type in the message that I would want to say. Not typing well. And then go ahead and send that. And that's as easy as it is to add one of those particular cards to the list. So something really kind of cool and fun. And then I wanted to show you.
May I interrupt you for a second, Belinda?
Yes.
So my beef with this is that when you share from within BC, you still just get the link as you have in the box above. So when you share something from BC, it does not get converted to a card, as if you pasted the same link inside Teams. I still think that's kind of a downer.
I agree with that. I was honestly, because I haven't received, I had to obviously get my sandbox to get the new wave, and I assumed it was going to be more like this. And this is ugly, and I don't like it. And it's not intuitive where this one is intuitive. So I totally agree with you on that. But if you happen to be inside of Business Central, then you might as well work on sharing in between as well. And then of course, a little bit of BI. Can't do something without BI. You could also, I'm focusing on Teams now.
Oh, sorry, Belinda, time's up.
You can connect to Business Central reports down here. This is just the out of the box one. Notice how it stopped me there, right? And then I'm going to, I want to show you one more, actually two more things, sorry. So bear with me. In my regular one, you could see, first of all, I only have the 5 default. This is my production environment. I only have the 5 default one. But if I wanted to add this, I could just simply copy the URL. This is how you would add it. And then I'm going to come up here and connect to the via a website, and I'll give it a name. Let's just call it customers. And then you paste in the URL, and then you save it. And that's as easy as it takes. I'll connect to it. And now when you click on it, it should load for you. That's how easy it is. And then just a little bit more about Teams. You could even add in like Power Apps as well. And I don't know, I mean, we've talked about Power Apps here before. This one, it took me longer to change the names on some of the fields than it took me to build the app. But this is just a silly one where I could go in and maybe even add in a customer. And I do need to put in that it's a company or a contact. I'm not going to go in and add in all the other detail, but that you can see I've added him here now. So when I come back over here into Business Central, it literally adds it right on the spot. So there's certain things that you could do inside of Power Apps as well within Teams, and you never have to leave Teams. I love this environment. I love being able to work like this. And that's it for Belinda.
That was so cool. Is everybody else just so super excited because of the enthusiasm Belinda always brings to walking the tightrope with the demos? I mean, my gosh.
I think, well, I love this stuff. I think it's just stinking awesome. And I mean, seriously, so we could come in and add it. I mean, this is astounding to me. Yeah. I mean, just, you know, here I am looking at, you know, all of my little customers on the list, and boom, there it is. I mean, yeah, this is just cool.
Beautiful. Any questions there?
Is anyone else using Teams to work?
Yeah,
with?
we are.
Who said we besides Shannon?
Dennis.
Dennis, cool. Cool.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, Mark, how's it going? Hey, did I miss the instructions for everybody for party shirts today?
Yes.
And it was
I bought the beach to you.
That is a good substitute right there.
That's actually my property in the Philippines.
Beautiful. Holy cow. Belinda, thank you so much. Wow. Really cool stuff. All right. Who's up next? Shannon Mullins. Do you want to share, Shannon?
Sure. And I'll just piggyback while I'm adding. Belinda attended my session at Dynamics Con, too many conferences this fall, where I did accelerating your accounting team with Teams, and I'll be redoing that webinar at Directions EMEA, and then also I'm not doing a Dynamics Con live, but I am doing it as a live webinar for Arbala. So I do a lot of training for accounting teams and using SharePoint Teams, forms, all kinds of fun stuff around the Power Platform. So one of my favorite topics, and Belinda stole it from me today, and that's okay. I love her anyway.
It's Power Apps for me, so it's good. We get out of our comfort.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I always love to teach on things, and honestly, the topic I chose today is a little bit out of my comfort zone, and it's not one I can really show. You know, you guys you've seen me teach. I love to show things. This one is a little bit harder to show, but I will say that Microsoft, when we did the preview for fall with the MVPs, this was one of the most exciting things they were excited about, which is bank statement and bank reconciliation, which no one's ever excited about. But Kristen Hosman and I made a whole video 2 months ago on how to use one of the newer features that a lot of people don't know exist. So I'm going to talk about that one real quick, and then we'll go into some of the capabilities that have changed that I'm not going to show you, because setting up a bank statement and all of that is just too much work. So First thing I just wanted to mention, the video that we created 2 weeks ago, if you guys do not know this and you're using Business Central, there is now the capability to set up a bank statement file import format from a file. So it's really cool. I don't know, Kristen, if we ever got that video published, we'll try to get that published, but you can actually take an Excel file, a CSV file, and make it a bank statement import without having to go through the whole file configuration setup in beside Business Central. So you can say, this is my account, this is my routing number, this is the amount, all those different things. Use a wizard and it will actually create that format for you so you can keep importing that over and over again. That actually came out in April, I believe. And you'll notice in here, while I'm in Kronos, it's asking me to set it up because I've never done it before, but it's a really cool wizard. We'll try to get that video that we created published. But it took us about an hour to do it. It probably literally only took 10 minutes, but we talked and laughed a lot. But anyway, that's a really cool feature that came out. That was not even capable even when I was doing GP, which is, you know, kind of bizarre. Hold on a second. I think my mouse stuck here. Okay. Been having mouse issues all day. Don't know. All right. And then in the new season of fall, the BC release that's coming out, these are some of the new capabilities. And I will say that Microsoft was like over the edge excited about these. Bank rec never truly excites me, but these are probably some great things for accountants that they've been asking for. So for the payment reconciliation journals, we're going to get separate number series. So you can have different rolling number series for payment reconciliation journals. I know that's important with posting. We've seen a lot of issues in different journals where you can't have separate number series and you run into locks. So that should be helpful. Posting preview, so you can see what GL transactions will be affected before you actually post your reconciliation journal. Probably good. And then the ability to reverse the GL register posted, which is huge. So people make mistakes all the time in bank rec. That's going to be huge to be able to back that out and change it. They're also allowing some other cool capabilities. So bank ledger entries, they're not going to be able to be filtered after the statement's ending date. So that way you're only seeing the transactions that affect that statement ending date. I don't know why that's a new feature and not a capability before, but anyway, that's going to happen. The layout of the test report is also being fixed. So you can also use the statement date as a filter. So that'll be good. They put a lot more focus on the period that's being reconciled versus like all of the transactions that are in that account. So that'll be pretty important. This was a huge one we ran into when we were testing. If you auto match things, you can decide whether or not you want to overwrite the already matched items or overwrite all. So if you're bringing in that import file that we just talked about, do you want BC to overwrite what was already matched, or do you want it to just bring in new transactions, which is pretty important if you're reconciling daily or weekly with those formats. And then this is very important. A many-to-one matching is now possible. So you can take many bank statement lines and be matched to one bank ledger entry, which is really important when you're doing different sales splits or ACH splits or whatever the case may be. That'll be pretty important. And then transferring differences posted in a general journal, the entries will be auto matched when you return to bank reconciliation. So just saving an extra step there. So some nice features in bank rec, some stuff that I feel like should have been in BC already, but we get it in this new release. So yay, Microsoft. And we did make some other suggestions on the MVP call that I don't think I can disclose, but it seems like they're listening to the US-based bank reconciliation folks over, you know, the Europeans, and figure out what US people need to do reconciliation for GAAP, which is good. So that's all I have.
You know, when the accounting team's happy, everybody's happy, right? There's some saying.
Everybody's
like that,
happy.
Yeah.
That's true.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shannon. All right. I'm not showing the panel anymore, but Kerry Peters is up next. Kerry?
Hey, everybody. I am not preparing a demo today. What I wanted to talk with you about is just my general impression of what I'm impressed with this release. So every time I look through the release information, I'm always looking for that big bang feature, right? What is that thing that's been released that we can really wow our customers with and you know, fits that need very, very well. And this particular release for me didn't have that big feature, but what it did have is it had a whole lot of little things that have really continued to improve the user interface. And I'm incredibly impressed with how much effort that Microsoft continues to put forward with that. And that a lot of these things, if you pay attention to some of the forums where people are putting suggestions for what needs to be requested, where those things are continuing to filter through. So some of the things that I thought that were fantastic is a default line type in sales and purchasing documents. So you know that if you open those documents, you always have to put on that first line what it is, right? And people are very annoyed by this. They ask if there's a setting where they can change it, right? And once you put that type in for the next lines, it carries forward, right? But why can't they put a default? So now they have a default that's available. Another thing is just data entry improvement in general, in particular to how the rows advance, right? So if you think about putting in entry in rows, especially in that first row, and you get that pause, or you have people actually slow down their data entry to wait for the system to catch up to them. So there's more improvement in the performance of data entry in those rows in particular. And then the last thing that I'll highlight as a really nice UI piece is that we have more columns that are available when we use personalization. One of the things that I teach people about all the time is saved views. And we talk about how we can create filters on visible columns, and we can create filters on additional columns. And a lot of times the questions that we get from customers is, well, but if I can't see that column, then of what use is it to me? That's a completely valid question. And they certainly haven't added all of the columns, but what they did do is they did a great job with about 8 or 10 different pages listing out exactly which additional columns that they added in to make visible through personalization. And to me, those choices really made sense. It's all that stuff that's been very frequently requested. And I just love seeing the additional investment and how much Microsoft listens to the suggestions that come through. And all of these little things really add up to a lot.
Here. I love doing that too. For so many years, I talked to Microsoft about talking to the users and getting real-time feedback, and I absolutely love that it's very evident on a very regular basis that they're doing that. Yeah, good list there. Any questions? Okay, yes, the pressure is mounting to come up with something new, but I know our stellar panel can handle it. All right, AJ, I've got a slide for you.
You got to start with that slide, Mark.
You ready?
I stayed up all night to make it.
I just can't wait to hear about this. All right, here we go. A new career? What's going on?
Call me the Colonel, right? I'm looking for that KFC job if this whole BC thing doesn't work out. All I know is I do well with things that have acronyms. So no, so the story is, this is from actually quite a long time ago. I don't know if you've ever been to Old Town, Mark, in Orlando. So there's theme parks in Orlando that everybody knows. There's Disney and Universal. And then there's a whole lot of other theme parks that are far more affordable for the local crowd. And one of them is called Old Town. And Old Town's just everything from about 100 years ago and some go-karting. I don't know where the go-karting fits in, but that's what they have. So one of the attractions there is you go get dressed up in these old-time clothes. And it might look like you put them all on, but this is like a bad Broadway production where they basically make you put your arms in and they tie everything behind you. So this whole thing is just like held by 3 strings that are tied behind my back. So that's a whole outfit. And but yeah, we took some pictures. There's my wife, my mother-in-law. I thought it's not nice to embarrass them in front of a community that doesn't know them. But yeah, I was looking for a funny picture to put up, a story to tell. I figure we're going to be drinking something fun. So there's got to be pictures that look like I'm Captain Morgan.
So how does this relate to BC Wave 2?
I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I was thinking more with the theme of BC, mix it up. I was like, what happens when you start drinking in the middle of the day for no good reason?
Bad pictures happen. Yeah, got it.
Yes, exactly. So on that note, 3 things that I want to talk about. I probably could become the presenter. I think I'm going to do some very light demos and maybe talk about a couple of these. So Mark, let's see if you can make me
You
the
just go grab it.
presenter.
I should be able to grab it. Yep.
All right, good. Let's try this now. There's more of a spotlight me. I don't think I see a presentation. You might need to right click my name and say make presenter. And if it doesn't, I can talk to it. That's all I'm saying. All right, I actually am. So I was drinking without knowing it. So let's try this. Okay. So there's three things that we're going to talk about. I think you saw that list up on the slide, or maybe you're too busy looking at that atrocity of a picture. But three features that really stand out for me. One is the edit in Excel. There are some improvements. I don't think it goes far enough. I'll talk about where I think there's still room for improvement and where they've done a good job. I will talk about one thing with Power BI. This has been something I've wanted for a long time. I've just been too lazy to ever go and put an idea. I realize as somebody who's been around the product a lot for a long time, I tell a lot of people about the Ideas website. I can't remember the last time I actually went on and suggested one, so maybe I should start practicing what I preach. And then the third one's just so simple. I'm surprised they hadn't allowed that for so long within BC Online. So let's start with edit and Excel improvements. Today, what we can do with Excel and BC 18 and so on is on standard journals and so on, we can always go in and we can put in a couple of lines if we want to, or we can send that to Excel and then populate everything in bulk over there, right? So if I go to my general journals, and here I am, a lot better if you're actually in this advanced view as opposed to the show fewer columns view. And when you export this, by the way, one of the new features that has kicked into my environment, my sandbox, is the edit in Excel and open in Excel are no longer buried under these menus. They're conveniently going to be up here with the share icon along with shared teams. So if I were to use edit in Excel, this is something that's been around for a long time, this particular screen, it would dump it all out in Excel. Phenomenal. I could then go and work on it. Well, while I'm showing this, I should also tell you one of the things that I find very frustrating that we kind of have to do over and over again. By default, it will select a layout that Microsoft has deemed applicable for all of us. And certainly you can go in and you can change this layout by using the design feature. You can go in and change this entire list of columns to your satisfaction. Also intelligently tells you things that cannot be edited, so don't waste your time on it. But once you save this, if you were to go back and re-export that page, it wouldn't hold your column layout. Really, the only way you can use it is by keeping this file, reopening this file, and refreshing from within this file. That's the only way you're able to hold all of the layout changes that you've made. So this is something that Microsoft should look to improve, and maybe I should look to go in and actually push that idea or see if anybody has, and then upvote it. But the improvement is, instead of just being able to work with journals and sales journals, purchase journals, lists like customers, vendors, items, etc., they first expanded to a couple of other journals like the recurring journal and intercompany journal. I don't think that's really cause for so much excitement. The cause for excitement comes when you're working with sales orders or sales quotes, etc. So we know that in these documents, we've got a header, and then you've got that little subform in the middle of that page. So if you're doing bulk entry of lines into a sales order, instead of having to do this inside of Business Central, you can now do this with Edit in Excel as well. Nice. So I think this is that nice new feature. Export this, but this is where my frustration comes into play again, right? For most of us, hopefully most of us are not really spending our time doing sales order entry, but for most users, this layout really isn't very helpful, where I have to skip 10 columns before I enter something. What we'd probably want to do is reorganize this column once, and then the next time we export, for it to hold or remember this preferred column layout. And so far, that doesn't really happen. So you're going to have to work on this every single time. But hey, let's celebrate what's great, and that is that we can now work with subforms or these sales order and so on type of lines. That's feature number one. Feature number two that gets me all excited: support for Power BI Workspaces. And this excites me because we do a lot of work with Power BI for our clients. And when we're putting those reports or dashboards, data sets, when we're loading them up, we don't load them into Power BI's My Workspace, right? For anybody who uses Power BI, that My Workspace is kind of your own little isolated space for you to do what you want. That's not where you can set permissions for other people and what have you. Really, in a true deployment in this particular example, I've only got one named workspace or custom workspace. But in most organizations like ours, we eat our own dog food, so we use Power BI heavily. We've got an accounting workspace, we've got an HR workspace, we've got NAV projects workspace, and so on and so forth. And we have different people with different levels of access or no access at all to different workspaces. And now, when I try to publish a report here in version 18 or older, anything that I put into a named or custom workspace cannot be accessed from inside of Business Central. Remember that connection for Business Central and Power BI, it can be used one of two ways. You can either just build reports off of Business Central data and use them in Power BI, which an example of this is here. This is demonstration data in a custom built dashboard or report that we've built, right? The other thing that you can do is you can take these Power BI reports and publish them back into Business Central so that the user of Business Central doesn't have to leave the screen. That's a very ugly way of putting in a report. Shame on me, I should slap my wrist here. You don't want this much data in this little a space, but on your home screen, you want to be able to look at, or you want to be able to, excuse me, let me select one of these.
You just need a bigger monitor. That's your problem.
Oh, exactly, right. Like I needed one more reason to spend money and use this technology. I've already got 2 TV screens in here, 2 monitors. I'm always looking for an excuse to buy something else I don't need. So Erik, you're not helping. But here, for instance, right, in the past, I could just use things on the My Workspace area. Other places where you might want to expose reports from Power BI, down here, this is not enabled over on the side, but customers, items, vendors, you could also have a filtered on or a filtered report view on whatever customer or vendor or item row you're highlighted. Those were always just looking at reports in the default My Workspace. So I would only see things in My Workspace, Mark would only see things in his workspace, etc. But now I can come in when I'm selecting a report, I can see the My Workspace as well as any other named workspaces. So we find this actually allows our customers to benefit from the reports that we're creating because we have some folks like C-level executives who probably don't get into Business Central very much at all. They love Power BI on your phone, your tablet, or whatever device they're on. But then we have people who live in Business Central all the time. And to them, it's not necessarily the best approach to have to open up Power BI every single time. They like all of your truth, all of your information right here within BC. So this allows them to live and do everything they need. You can expand upon and interact and all the other things you were able to do before. So you hover over and you're able to look at data. You can send this into focus mode and all the other things you've been able to do for previous versions as well. So that was the second thing I was excited about. The third thing, I did look to check, and I don't think I'm able to do it yet in my sandbox, even though it's upgraded to version 19. And that is the ability to restart my environment. If you are running an on-premise version of NAV or Business Central and something doesn't quite behave, you can always just go back to your MMC console and you can right-click and restart the service. And that's, with all things Microsoft, restarting works wonders, right? And in the cloud environment, though, that wasn't really an option. In fact, up until about a version or 2 ago, you weren't even able to look at, identify, and terminate a session. I can't remember when that got added. Maybe it was about 2 releases ago, but that was a nice godsend. You can now go in. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's go in here. I can always look up sessions. It will show you my environment, who's logged in, and then you can go and kill a session. So that was good. But now you're also going to be able to restart an entire environment without having to open up a support case. So that's a good one. I did not put this last thing I wanted to talk about in my slides because that's not a version 19 or a 2021 release wave 2 feature. It came in the last release. We had an opportunity to use it, and that's also a godsend. I can't believe they didn't do it for so long. As a partner who's helping customers, sometimes you have somebody who needs to back up something from one tenant and move it to another tenant, or you might do something, develop something, a company in your tenant, and then you want to move that company environment and all into another tenant for a customer. In the past, you weren't able to do those types of backups and restores. You couldn't take something in tenant A and restore that in tenant B. You still can't, but now you can open up a case with Microsoft to do that. And then we had one opportunity to test it out. I think the entire support case went for 4 days, but the three and a half days of that were really just the logistics, opening a support case, waiting for a response, answering a few questions. Microsoft was able to back up and then just kind of pick and drop our entire environment from one tenant to another, add-ins and all. So we didn't have to reinstall any extensions. All the data was in place. The only thing that didn't carry over was users and user permissions, because user IDs and so on are different across tenants, right? Every tenant has its own domains and so on that are tied in. So that was a very minor inconvenience in the scheme of things, but otherwise, fantastic feature. I don't know that anybody needs it all that often, but when you do, oh boy, it's great to be able to do it.
So that's great. A question on that, AJ. If your environments are within the same domain, do you think the user information will flow over?
Yeah, but I think so, but you don't even need a Microsoft support case for that. You can just copy an environment to begin with.
Right.
But yes, those do flow over because your SIDs are the same. I don't think you'll have any issue there.
Okay, that's good to know. That's really gonna help us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
AJ, what an incredible list. Love the Excel updates. I appreciate you highlighting that. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Kristen, what do you got?
You're muted. You're still muted, Kristen.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. So everybody took my ideas, so I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna switch from my favorite functionality to how about like some tips and tricks, functional, real fast. So Shannon brought up the import bank statement functionality, and this is one of my favorite tools in the system to use because, you know, when you're doing an implementation, the clients are like, well, how do you get like my credit card transactions in the system, and how do I reconcile my credit card? Well, it's really easy actually, and there's not a lot of information out there about it. So what I like to do is I like to set up the credit card as an actual bank account. And then I set up a payment method so that it automatically hits the payment method for the bank account and then clears out. And then at the end of the month, what I like to do is I like to import in the credit card statement and have it do the auto match to make sure that we have everything in the system. So we're doing this on the fly, and I'm gonna hopefully not take too much time here. But let's say I have my bank statement set up already, or my bank account set up already. But I need to set up like the format for the export, you know, from, we'll say chase.com, right? So here's the bank statement file set up. I can go in here and I already have it exported. So we're going to do this really fast because I know we're tight on time, and I'm sure Erik has a lot of tips. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this, and this is shown in the video that I will get uploaded. Shannon and I were playing around one evening here. But we can see that it's going to read the file, right? So this is a CVS file, or CSV file, and all the columns here are being read, and I'm going to exclude the header line, right? Live demo, right? Hopefully this goes well. And I'm just going to walk through. I'm not changing anything yet, although I feel like we need to do something with the amount, but we're just going to go through and let it do its thing, right? And then we're going to set up, we'll just have it go to savings and say that that's set up. So that's how easy it is to like have it read, right? And this is really funny, you guys. I hope this works with like on the fly demo. Let me make sure that I have bank rec with auto match turned on. I do. So As I was sitting here trying to figure out what I was going to show you, I felt like I was sitting in one of those summit sessions where like Belinda and Shawn are up front and they're going at it with each other and trying to like outdo each other. I totally felt like that. So let's go ahead and quickly import it. Hopefully I grab the right one. Okay, so I have an error. Okay, but here's where I want to go with this, right? Like if it worked perfectly, right? So on the right-hand side, all my transactions that have been flowing through the system, you know, credit card transactions. And then on the left-hand side, we would import in. So we could quickly do a reconciliation against a credit card to figure out what is not in there. And then to piggyback off of that, one of the new features in here is that anytime you have transactions that you transfer to the general journal, as soon as you click post and come back into this window, they're going to auto match automatically, where before they didn't. So that's my functionality tip, trick, favorite new feature.
That is impressive on the fly. Going for a new tip. I thought the stuff that you had in there, Kristen, there were still a couple things we hadn't covered.
You know, the delegated admin can create a job queue. That was one of them. And I think we're all like clapping for that one because that's a big one for the partners and those users who don't have an assigned license. And then what was the other one?
Removing obsolete reports.
Yeah. Microsoft is removing the obsolete reports, the 204, 205, 206, and 207. And that actually affects me and my company. So I have to go now redo my invoice because I'm using 206. So that was more of a reminder for me that I have to go do that.
Awesome. Nice scrambling. Thank you. All right, Erik.
So yeah.
Drum roll. What do you think?
No, I think the panel has done such a wonderful job that I feel unnecessary here. So I will actually start by repeating something because I think Kerry totally underestimated the value of the keyboard buffer. Am I allowed to share?
Yes, please do.
See if I'm allowed to share. So I feel that Microsoft could have taken version 18 and changed this one thing and slapped the version 19 label on it, and everybody would still cheer. So what we can do now is that, we can type, and it's doing it. It's following along with whatever I type. It's no longer missing keyboards. You can, if you're in a journal, you can do F8 arrow down, F8 arrow down. You can do it as quickly as your keyboard buffer can basically keep up. And this is a complaint I have received from every single customer who has, started to really using the system, that why is it dropping my keystrokes? You got a sales order with 20 lines and you got to update a quantity or something like that, and it's not keeping up. Version 19 is keeping up. I think that is the killer feature of version 19, and I have so many customers just begging for this right now.
Here, I thought I was the only one excited about that feature, Erik. So I'm glad that you could join me.
No, but I think this one has a real impact on, real users sitting out there and spending 8 hours using this app. And this is also one of the main reasons for people getting stuck on version 14, still having the Windows client that also preserves the keyboard buffer, and saying we cannot use the web client because it's slow. And their definition of slow comes from the fact that it's dropping keystrokes. So I'm totally stoked about this.
100% agree.
Then I want to mention two other things. Usually, my area of expertise is on the development side, and to be honest, version 19 is really not exciting on the development side. There's a few things, but what actually makes me excited about that is that shows that the platform is maturing, and we don't get tons of new stuff because we don't need tons of new stuff. There's so much capability in the platform we have already that what we're getting now, is performance improvement. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on with making traceability, telemetry, and stuff like that better to and this is because Microsoft has to support their own software instead of us doing it for them. So suddenly they see all the tools they need in order to support their own platform. So that's kind of cool. The last thing, and I know time is almost up, so let me go. The last one is really not on any of the lists, and it's kind of flying on the radar, but I think this, and that will have no impact on version 19, but this is still very, very important, is that Microsoft now, they have finished moving all the Danish localization, customization, localized features into an extension. Meaning that, and now they're slowly going to other countries. But what I see in the future is a version of Business Central where you can if you have a US company and a Canadian company, or a US and a UK, or whatever combination of companies, you can actually have those companies in the same system and have the UK localized functionality and the US and the Canadian just added as apps, and everything will work in the same system. I'm beginning to see the traces of that being possible, and that opens up so many opportunities for international multi-entity companies, which there are lots of all around the world. And that one really has me excited because right now we're doing clunky solution or setting up multiple environments, for a UK environment, a US environment, and then we are then reporting and consolidation, all that stuff becomes way too clunky for real life. So that one has me very excited too. Anyway, that was the short version. Back to you, Mark.
Fantastic. What, it makes perfect sense, right? Wow. We should have seen that one coming, actually, right? That's a beautiful thing. Thank you very much, Erik.
You're welcome.
Yes, awesome. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy when it's the little things that seem so unimportant that make such a big difference like that, right? When it saves you a few seconds all the time, every hour of every day, it becomes very, very important. I love that.
It does. Erik, I want to just chime in with what Mark said. I'll turn my camera back on real quick. There is an idea out on the idea site for something very simple. And that search bar that we all use, we click it probably like 40, 50 times a day. Why isn't that just something you type into, like you do into Excel? Or if I was trying to find the link for it, I'll try to post it in here. But something so simple, I'd love to see that added. And sorry, Erik, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Right.
Totally missed what you're saying, that the search bar in BC, you type Alt Q and then you just start typing.
Sure, you could.
I do that 40, 50 times every day.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this general question, especially Erik, you who works very closely on the development side. So I'm seeing Microsoft is adapting to our request of the changes more frequently now with BC as compared to NAV. Is that because it's easier to make those kind of changes on BC side than NAV versions, or is it because they are listening more to their customers?
So in general, the application has been trailing the platform for a couple of years. So all Microsoft's focus has been on actually creating a great platform, especially because they're going to host it themselves. So now it's going to be fast and it's going to be efficient and it's not going to break down because now it's their issue whenever it breaks. So I think, and this is just top of my head, this may be totally wrong, but I think 80% of the entire development budget for BC has gone to the platform, and the application has kind of been lacking for a few years. So all the stuff that we want, why isn't Brankwerk better? Why can't we do EFT goods? And one other thing that is coming up slowly, not really in 19, but is really going to get ramped up going into the future is onboarding, the onboarding experience for new customers. And all this is now getting attention from Microsoft because the platform is maturing. The platform is actually pretty good by now. So there's budget and resources to look at the stuff that we care about because now the underlying stuff works.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm happy. I was just, surprised that it's happening at a speed now that we've been hoping for the last 5-7 years at least.
But Microsoft is a freight train. That's the way it has always been. No, that has not changed. But as soon as it gets up to speed, it stays there. And we can but we can see that with Power BI. Every month there's a new version of Power BI, and there's new features every single month. It's just come steamrolling.
No,
a
that's
great
good.
analogy.
Thank you.
Mr. Kauffmann, since you're still with us, would you like to be an honorary panelist and share a piece of insight or a favorite new feature?
Oh, I didn't prepare for that. Let me mention one thing. So just in relation to what Erik just said about the platform. There's one thing that Microsoft announced for the next version, not for 19, but version 20. They're going to move to Windows Core. Sorry, .NET Core, and that means that the platform is going to significantly faster as what I expect. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next version.
Wow. Boy. Gets a little aflutter. Gosh.
Yeah. I agree. It's exciting. I'm not sure it's actually gonna impact us very much. To be honest, it's on AL heavy processes. Yeah, I think it will, but the overall experience, not so sure. But there are other things becomes possible. The problem is that. Sorry, AJ, not to continue on your talk here, but .NET has evolved, right? And due to BC's core still sitting on framework right now, there's certain things that are harder for Microsoft to do because those new features does not get released on framework, but they do get released on core. So some integration pieces will get easier to get access to.
Exactly.
I have no hope for especially for performance. I think there are certain AL operations that will get faster, but the overall performance matrix of BC is so complicated with SQL on one end and IIS on the other end, which is already .NET Core. That's
right. Yeah. So talking about version 19 and SQL Server, definitely looking forward to play with the new possibilities around indexing. You have the key that you can combine with extra fields, and that is definitely going to improve the performance a lot if you implement it the right way, especially on big tables.
I totally agree.
I don't know why this just occurred to me, maybe because we've talked about performance over much of the history of Nav, but do you all realize we're just a few years out from the 40th anniversary of the software? Wow.
And then one comment about also what something Erik said is about that Microsoft is now moving out localizations. That is a nice thing, but the AL code behind it is getting more and more complicated. And now in version 19, we already see some of the results of that, implementing huge interfaces because some localizations need to have different implementations, for example, in posting routines. That is going to be more complicated to work with and more dangerous for AL developers. So we're not there yet.
I totally agree. That the problem now that we're facing that there is a specific segment of customers that we can't really support well with the current model, and this development has the potential of putting us at some point in the future where we can actually serve up customers like that.
Right, I see some folks dropping off, so before everybody has to go, I just, of course, want to thank the panel again. There was an amazing lack of overlap in terms of things highlighted. I was really impressed with that, so thank you, everybody, for preparing a wide range of features and updates. Always great to make sure that we're making the best use of the software we can, so thank you very much for that. And a quick reminder for our October Mix It Up. We'll be talking about EDI. We'll get invites out on that. Just make sure you subscribe to the Meetup group, and that way you'll get notified about all this. I'll also post out tomorrow when we post the recording, and that's available on the YouTube channel. You'll get a note about that as well. So I think that's about it. Let me post the survey link in the chat again. And always interested in your feedback and ideas for future Mix It Ups. And with that, thank you very much, everybody. Great turnout. Very exciting conversation. Really appreciate it. Everybody take care.
Cheers.